There's a vegetable in your fridge right now that can measurably change your body chemistry in under 20 minutes, and it is something you can actually smell. People have noticed this peculiar phenomenon for close to 300 years, and while chemists eventually figured out the why behind it, the mystery remained incomplete. It took geneticists, and this only really got going about 15 years ago, to answer a much weirder question. Why exactly doesn't it happen to everyone? That vegetable is, of course, asparagus. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what is happening inside your body when you eat it, down to the molecule. Honestly, the explanation most of us grew up accepting turns out to be almost completely backwards, relying on dinner table trivia that misses the real science. Here is what you probably think you know. Some bodies just make that smell, and some don't. It is a fun fact you drop and then move on from. I have certainly said some version of that myself, but the part that gets me is that this explanation is not just incomplete, it is aimed at the wrong body part. Believing it means you have missed a genuinely strange story about your own DNA, one that has nothing to do with your gut and everything to do with your nose. There is something almost nobody gets right here, and it took scientists the better part of 3 centuries to actually sort it out, with a little help from modern tech. Let us go back to 1731. A physician named John Arbuthnot writes that asparagus gives urine a foul smell, and he even worried it might harm the kidneys. 50 years later, Benjamin Franklin notices the exact same thing. He wrote that it shall give our urine a disagreeable odor. Ben Franklin, writing about pee. For centuries, that was it. That was the whole theory. This vegetable does something a little alarming to your body. They were not wrong, just missing the why. The real cause is a compound called Asparagusic acid, and as far as chemists can tell, it does not show up anywhere else in the natural world. Think of it like a molecule locked inside a box. On its own, it barely smells like anything at all, remaining dormant until it encounters your digestive system. Digestion is the key that springs the box open. It breaks the acid down into smaller sulfur compounds, one of which is known as methane thiol. That substance turns into a gas the second it hits the air, sometimes within 15 minutes of your first bite. It is an incredibly fast chemical transformation. Here is a fact almost nobody knows. This same plant gave us one of biochemistry's biggest firsts, marking a milestone in how we understand the building blocks of life. Back in 1806, 2 French chemists isolated the very first amino acid science had ever identified, pulling it straight out of asparagus juice to study its unique properties. They named it Asparagine, after the plant itself. That is the smell story. But before we solve the mystery of your nose, let us look at the plant's other roles. The reason nutritionists call asparagus healthy is a totally different story. Half a cup gets you around 1/3 of your daily folate, a vital B vitamin. Your cells need folate to build and repair DNA, and it also helps lower homocysteine, which is a blood marker closely linked to the risk of heart disease. There is vitamin K too, which helps steer calcium into your bones instead of your arteries, providing a structural benefit that is often overlooked in casual diet talk. Asparagus also tests as one of the richest food sources of glutathione, an antioxidant your own cells make to help clean up everyday cellular damage and oxidative stress. No single one of these is a miracle molecule on its own, but stack them together, and that is why one unglamorous stalk earns such a high reputation. Even with all those benefits, scientists were still stumped by that one weird side effect. It turns out the answer was hiding in our DNA the whole time. There is also a fiber angle most people miss entirely. Asparagus contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that your small intestine literally cannot break down on its own. Instead, it travels straight through to your gut, where it becomes food for the trillions of bacteria living there, acting as a fuel source for your microbiome. Well-fed gut bacteria means a healthier gut lining and steadier digestion, and some research even suggests there are knock-on effects for your immune system as well. So, what do you actually do with all this? Cooking method matters more than people think. Folate and vitamin C are both water-soluble, which is a crucial detail. Boiling asparagus dumps a good chunk of those nutrients straight into the pot, right down the drain, basically wasting the very health benefits you are trying to get. Steam it or roast it instead. 5 to 7 minutes is the sweet spot. You will keep way more of both intact, maximizing the nutritional value of your meal. Now, remember that assumption from earlier? That some people's bodies just make the smell and others don't? That belief survived almost 300 years completely unchallenged. Scientists are only now able to say, for certain, whether it is actually true. It took the rise of consumer genetics to finally put the theory to the test. In 2010, the genetics company 23andMe ran the first large study into this, opening the door to a more rigorous look at the biology of our senses. Then in 2016, A team of Harvard researchers went further, surveying nearly 6,900 people and cross-referencing their answers against their actual genetic data. The results were definitive. They overturned close to 3 centuries of assumptions in one move. Production was barely the variable we should have been looking at. Most people's bodies make at least some of those sulfur compounds after eating asparagus. The real difference, it turns out, sits entirely in your nose. Researchers traced it to 871 genetic variants clustered around your smell receptors. This explains why the experience of eating asparagus is so subjective and varied. Get this, more than half of people cannot smell it at all. 58% of men and 62% of women are effectively blind to this specific chemical signature. There is an actual name for it: Asparagus anosmia. It was never really about whose body makes the smell. It is about whose nose was built to catch it. Look, next time that joke comes up at dinner, you will have the real answer. It was never about whose gut is weird or different. It is about whose nose was built to notice. It is a fascinating example of how genetic variation shapes our individual experience of the world around us. Almost 300 years of guessing. One unremarkable looking vegetable. And it turns out, one of the strangest facts about your body has been sitting in your fridge. It has been sitting quietly in your produce drawer this whole time, waiting for science to catch up and reveal the hidden genetic reality behind the odor. This journey from a simple observation by John Arbuthnot to the discovery of genetic variants shows how science slowly peels back the layers of everyday mysteries. We often take our sensory experiences for granted, assuming that everyone perceives the world exactly as we do. But genetics proves that our perceptions are unique. The next time you prepare a meal with asparagus, you might look at it differently, knowing the complex chemistry and genetic history packed into every single stalk. It is a reminder that even the most mundane parts of our daily lives, like what we eat for dinner, are connected to deeper biological and evolutionary processes. Whether you can smell it or not, the nutritional benefits remain the same, providing your body with essential vitamins and fiber, regardless of your olfactory status. The story of asparagus is a perfect microcosm of scientific progress, moving from anecdotal observation to rigorous genetic analysis over the course of several centuries. We have moved past the fear that Benjamin Franklin felt, replacing it with an understanding of how our bodies process food and how our senses interpret it. It is a testament to the power of curiosity, showing that even a disagreeable odor can lead to profound insights into human biology and our genetic diversity. So, the next time you are at the grocery store, you can appreciate the science behind the produce aisle, knowing the hidden stories behind every vegetable. We hope this deep dive into the chemistry and genetics of asparagus has changed the way you think about your own body and the food you consume. Science is often about asking the right questions, and sometimes the most interesting answers are found in the places we least expect, like our own DNA. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of one of the most persistent and peculiar mysteries in the history of human nutrition and sensory science. We have covered the chemistry, the nutrition, and the genetics, but there are always more everyday mysteries waiting to be solved by the curious mind. What is the next everyday food mystery you want us to dig into? Let us know in the comments, and we will keep investigating the world. Stay curious. Keep questioning the things you think you know. And remember that there is always a deeper story behind even the simplest of things. We look forward to seeing you in the next video, as we continue to explore the fascinating science hidden in plain sight all around us. For generations, the prevailing belief was that some people produced a specific smell, while others simply did not, focusing on the digestive system. This long-standing assumption suggested that our bodies were fundamentally different in how we process the sulfur compounds found within the vegetable. It was a classic piece of dinner table trivia, a quick observation passed down through families that seemed to explain a strange biological quirk. We assumed that if you could not smell it, your body must be doing something different, perhaps breaking down the compounds in a unique way. However, modern genetic research has completely overturned this idea, revealing that the production of these sulfur compounds is actually quite common. In 2010, the genetics company 23andMe conducted the first large-scale study, finally applying modern tools to this centuries-old mystery. Then, in 2016, a team of Harvard researchers went even further, surveying nearly 6,900 people to cross-reference their answers against their actual DNA. The data from these studies revealed a surprising truth. Almost everyone produces the smell, but not everyone has the ability to detect it. The true variation lies not in the gut, but in the olfactory receptors that process the chemical signals sent to our brains. When we eat asparagus, our bodies break down the acid into sulfur compounds that travel through our systems and eventually exit as gas. The difference isn't in the output of our kidneys, but in the complex machinery of our noses, which varies wildly from person to person. Scientists identified 871 genetic variants clustered around these smell receptors, confirming that the inability to detect these compounds is widespread. The results were staggering, showing that more than half of the population cannot smell the byproduct of asparagus at all. Specifically, researchers found that roughly 58% of men and 62% of women are essentially blind to this particular scent. There is even a formal scientific name for this phenomenon. It is officially known as Asparagus anosmia, or the inability to detect the odor. This discovery shifts the narrative from a digestive anomaly to a deeper understanding of how our DNA shapes our individual sensory experiences. It highlights the hidden diversity in our biology, showing how two people can eat the exact same meal and have entirely different experiences. This condition is a fascinating example of how human genetic diversity influences our unique sensory perception of the world around us. Ultimately, the dinner table trivia we have repeated for centuries was never about whose body was different, but about our unique biological makeup. It is a reminder that the way we interpret the world is filtered through the specific genetic blueprint that defines our human senses. We are all walking around with slightly different hardware, and sometimes that means we literally live in different sensory realities. Next time you enjoy a plate of asparagus, remember that your experience is a personal reflection of your own unique genetic architecture. It is a small, strange, and perfectly human reminder that our bodies are far more complex than our casual observations might suggest. What was once a mystery of the gut has become a masterclass in how our genetics dictate the very air we breathe.